Karen Carney from Virginia.
Scott
Mike
from
Greer
Ohio.
Afghanistan from Hawaii.
Mike Greer from Pennsylvania.
Josh Whitmire from Birmingham, Alabama.
Mark with Gainesville, Florida, CIO.
Hi, everybody. I'm Martha from Durango, Colorado.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Martinez from Access to Independence in Iowa City, Iowa.
Yay.
Hello, everyone. This is James from Disability Access Center in Moscow, Idaho.
Can't hear that one.
Wonderful. Anybody else want to give a hello?
I'm Trina Edmondson with Disability Advocates of Kent County in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We serve 5 counties, 4 of which are very rural.
This is Carol Tuning with the Disability Rights and Resource Center in Rocky Mount, Virginia.
And I'm going to join the Michigan crew. I'm Lucy, and I'm with SAIL in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We cover 15 counties, and they're all, you know, rural.
Hi, this is
Brooks
Maria
with the Disability Action
Center.
You can send Dad a picture. How long are they? Like 6 feet? 8?
Wonderful. Well, we are at 102 Mountain Time right now, and we've got Jeannie Combs as well from Three Rivers still in, is it Wamego, Kansas? The satellite office is on the Prairie Band Potawatomi Reservation in Mayetta, Kansas. And Shannon Wood from Ocala, Florida still. Oh, wonderful. I love seeing folks introducing themselves, and doesn't it feel sort of nice to know that you're not the only one out there who is Zooming in places these days. And I'm glad that we could all be together today. We've also got Denise Wardell from TARP in Paris, Tennessee. So I'll just kind of give my little welcome. It's 1:03. Folks are still kind of joining in. We've also got Cindy from Fargo, North Dakota, and Sarah from GSIL in New Hampshire, and Renee Hernandez from Kern County. So just quick welcome again. These are the Rural Conversation Communities. Thank you so much for joining us today. This conversation community is a service of the ILNet Training and Technical Assistance Center, a project of independent living research, utilization, and facilitated by April. And my name is actually Mary, not April, but I will answer to both. So again, for those who are joining us, maybe for your first time on Zoom, feel free to turn on your web camera so we can see and hear you, and you can chat with your little icon that looks like a square and a triangle. It's a camera, and click that. And if you're using captioning, if you press the CC button on your screen, you can toggle that on. I see it going right now. If you're using the computer only, you can control your microphone and your computer and the microphone with your webcam with the icons on the top or the bottom of your screen. You can mute and unmute your voice with the little microphone button. Or you can go ahead and put your comments and introduce yourself and questions in the chat as well. You know, feel free to practice with different ones. If you're using the phone only, you should be able to press *6 to mute or unmute your phone. But I've heard some people have trouble with that. So if at any point in time you're having trouble accessing the conversation or joining in, you can always email me at Molson, MOLSON.April@gmail.com. And I have that pulled up here on my phone so I can check it periodically while we're going. If you need any help at all, feel free to send that to us. So again, if you're not the person talking, if you can please stay muted, it just kind of helps with that background feedback noise. And while we're building our community, some folks were introducing themselves. That's wonderful. And if you don't mind telling us that every time that you talk, make a comment, just say your name and where you're from. Just kind of helps us get to know each other. And of course, have fun. Give each other some kudos for your hard work. Don't put us on mute or on hold if you can. And just remember that even if you have some, an old idea is new to other people. And then, of course, I just wanted to show you the aprilworld.org link here. Resources from the last peer support call are right on the homepage there. So you can pull up the last documents that were shared, the chat, and the actual recording itself. You can access that right on the website on the homepage. And that sort of just brings us to today. So for those of you who might be new to the Real Conversation communities, they're unique in that I don't have any presenters. None of us are really the experts. In fact, all of us are the experts. And so the idea is really just to have this opportunity to connect with others across the country and share what you all are doing. We are in wild times that we're living in, and the more we can learn from each other, I think the better we will all be. So with that, today we are again talking about COVID-19. So you can just use this time, to share ideas around maybe telecommuting, how you're serving consumers. You can ask questions to your peers, let them know about some of the barriers you're encountering. We can workshop those together, and any other resources or information that will help us all do better work. So with that, I'm going to kind of open it up to the floor and just ask if anybody has anything that they really want to share right now, whether it's something, that is good going on in your still right now, you're starting up an online program, or if you have a barrier you'd like to ask about, let's just use this time to start sharing.
Could I go first?
Please do.
Hi, everyone. This is Ari Goodman from the Center for People with Disabilities around Boulder, Colorado, but I serve the mountain towns on a stretch peak highway called Peak to Peak. We up here and within Center for People with Disabilities are all connecting. Every day we're doing peer support groups via online from all around the state and surrounding states to join us via Google Hangout to talk about mental health, substance abuse, intellectual disability, physical disability, anything that people need to combat social isolation. And we all, every day for an hour, get online and have free peer support groups. So if you'd like an invitation, please email me later or ask. And that's something that we've really been loving doing from our agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind adding your, is that your email there? Is it?
No, that's a different one, but let me add mine.
Yeah, please throw your email in the chat. And then what we do is we share the chat, and then it does actually save in the recording. So when that goes up on the website, folks can re-access it. Thank you for sharing and being the brave one to go first. We also have, along those lines, Maria says that she has a group called Weekly Virtual Space. It's Breaking Silences peer group hosted by Dr. Julie Williams from the Wright State University and Maria Matzik of Access Center for Independent Living. And it's held every Thursday evening from 5:30 to 7. The group's intent is to offer community connectiveness to individuals isolated by the impact of COVID-19. The group welcomes participation from professionals, family members, allies of the disability community, along with people with disabilities. The group is working on ways to develop emergency resources and develop an awareness regarding individuals with significant disabilities. And our goal is to initiate social connections and to offer support within the community. There's no cost associated, and they put their information down there. So thank you so much for sharing.
Is this an okay time to ask a question about peer support groups online?
Sure, ask away.
Okay, my name is Mona from Michigan, and we are offering peer support groups online through Zoom. One interesting logistic that I've learned is that we're serving a number of older adults with disabilities who have a landline only with no long distance. So on one of the calls recently, where everyone actually chose to call into Zoom as opposed to the computer due to limited computer and Wi-Fi access, I had 2 people on 2 different cell phones listening in because they did not have long distance service and only have a landline. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, and if so, any ideas you have to try to be as inclusive as possible.
Hi, this is Sarah Martinez from Access to Independence. There's a service called Free Conference Call. It's freeconferencecall.com. Have you considered maybe moving the peer group over to just a call-in?
That would be amazing. I just am not familiar with that, so I'm going to write that down. And thank you so much. Can you repeat it one more time, please?
Yeah, freeconferencecall.com. That's actually where we're hosting our call-in peer groups every day at 1 o'clock. And
wonderful.
So it's a really nice conference call line to host that.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
No problem.
I have a question. This is Trina from Michigan about the free conference call. Is there a limit to how many people can be on that call?
I believe it's 1,000.
Wow.
Quote me on that. If you do go to their website, you can set up an account and get all the information on there.
Great, thank you.
What about a link to Tom that you can call? I was asking about the conference call. Is there a cutoff as far as time that you can call?
I apologize. I didn't catch that. No, there is no cutoff.
Okay.
You don't need like a professional account that I know of to be able to have a time frame.
Cool. All right.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sarah. Would you mind repeating what that was for me, and I can pull up the link and just put it in the chat? Oh, you got it. freeconferencecall.com. Wonderful.
So at the top, it's given unlimited data to people who qualify.
Was that can people qualify for unlimited data? Was that the question? I'm sorry. Do you mind repeating the question? That's all right. Oh, I see. Michael is saying that TrackPhone has unlimited data to those who qualify, and they went ahead and dropped that link right in the chat box. It's www.trackphone.com/COVID. So that's another really great resource. You know, and I have heard, so one of our partners that we're working with, this is definitely not ideal, but what they did was, the consumer did not have long distance, but the person facilitating the group did have free minutes and long distance on their cell phone. So what they did was they called the consumer, and then they called into the conference line themselves, and then they merged the 2 calls so that the consumer didn't have to be the one to take in that long distance. So that is not ideal. It is I think a rural life hack that they figured out in the fly, but it worked for them. Wonderful. And then there is one other thing in the chat box. Carl says, Society Assets has created an online guide on community resources and information during the coronavirus pandemic. And they dropped that link right in there. And it has information on economic stimulus payments, food sources, utilities, health information, mental health, and they serve southeastern Wisconsin. So that's a really neat one that you might be able to help recreate in your area. What else? Anybody else have thoughts on reaching those consumers without long distance, or another question or idea you want to share?
Yes, I have one. Would it be possible for you to provide the link for those of us that are on the telephone?
Yes. So what actually I think might be the easiest, and what we'll do is I save this chat, and then it's kind of like a text file, and then I'll just put it right up on the April homepage. Will that work for you?
Yes, that'll be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other thoughts? Anybody else want to share a question that they're facing, a barrier, or something great that they want to share?
Mary, this is Sarah at Access to Independence. I don't know if this was shared during the last rule call, but I saw that April is on their homepage is posting the Healthy Community Living link for the free guide. I downloaded that for my staff and got all of us on that. So if anyone else is looking for remote programming information, the Healthy Community Living curriculum is free right now for the next year, which is amazing.
Wow.
Thank you, Sarah, for that shout out. We're going to mention, yes. So you can pull it up on the April homepage, or you can just go to the healthycommunityliving.com website, and they are putting away, they're giving away 1 year subscriptions until May 1st. And so they have a code in there that you can use. It's called Build Community, I believe. And it's all on the April website, which I'll type in the chat, or actually it's right up on your screen, www.april/world or -world.org. And as Sarah said, it's actually a really great curriculum. It's 2 different curriculums. One is called Community Living Skills, and it's actually each of those workshops can actually be standalone workshops. It talks about disability identity, healthy relationships. There's a whole course on technology. And the whole curriculum itself is actually online. And it's really pretty easy if you're using Zoom. All that you have to do is share your screen and go through those slides with folks, and it's all right there for you. And along with Community Living Skills, they also have, it's the old Living Well with a Disability curriculum, but now it's Living Well in the Community, and it's also all right there. So yeah, please take advantage of that. We're really grateful for the folks at the RTC Rural University of Montana for putting out those free codes. And we are happy at April to help do any technical assistance you might need in trying to run that group online. And Lucy is from the Upper Peninsula. They say our operations manager has started a virtual water cooler meeting. Peer support staff can phone into for checking in and touching base. Thanks for sharing that, Lucy. I think it's really important for us to remember that we're not just trying to keep consumers connected, but we have an extra, I think, responsibility to make sure our staff, we're continually checking in on our staff and keeping them connected as well. And Beth says they've received a lot of requests for cloth masks and have gotten volunteers to make them and started handing them out to folks. Oh, thanks, Beth. That also is a great way, I think, centers can help give back to your consumers. Who else would like to share or have any questions?
This is Carl with Society's Assets. I have a question.
Does anyone do home mods assessments remotely? You do it from the convenience of your office and not go out to the site?
No, but I'd be really curious as to how you can make that happen.
I know we're debating that in Wisconsin, and we're not doing it, but some people have said that they are doing it. So I'm just curious across the country if anyone is doing that.
So I'm an ADA coordinator, Mrs. Lucy, and we have people spread over hundreds of miles, and I will ask people to take photographs. I will ask them to, describe what they're trying to do, what the problem is, what they're needing, and then be able to study some photographs and then can recommend to them different websites that might be useful, different people who might get involved, different ideas about how to even try to find some funding. So you can really do a lot if that person has either a phone with a camera or a camera and they can shoot the photos to you. Works really well. They can give you measurements. Yeah.
Well, especially this time during the stay-at-home orders that we have around here. We were just, right now no one's asking them, but if this goes on, we're just curious what's our next step to not delay the improvements that people need in their homes.
Right, right. Yeah, right now people are kind of at a standstill. And we were doing a lot of different projects, but that there are other people who are ready to move.
Anything that they want to share or have any.
Okay, thanks.
So Mary, this is Karen in Roanoke, Virginia. I'm just curious as to whether anybody has heard anything about how the additional funding, the federal funding for sills, is going to be able to be used. I don't know about other sills, but we have a lot of programs that we've had to put on hold, and therefore our budget is really going to take a hit. And I don't want to, furlough or lay staff off. We have applied for one of the Paycheck Protection Program loans, but we don't know when we're going to hear about that either. So do you know if April is doing anything about urging ACL to get some guidance out about how those funds can be used?
Thanks, Karen. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Billy. Karen, I know that in conversations with ACL that Karina Stiles is expecting to have some FAQs out any moment. So that's not a very good answer, but that's the only thing I have at the moment, is that they're working rapidly to get these answers out to folks.
All right. Thanks, Billy.
And then Todd says that the funding for sales will be directed to focus on core services. And along with that, Karen, you mentioned one of the relief grants. I do know that Nickel and Centene put on a webinar last week, and it's now, I think, archived on their website. And it talks about how SILs can apply for some of those grants. So that might be something of interest for folks as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great questions, guys. Anything else that you guys want to talk about with your peers?
Aloha, this is Lonnie from Aloha Independent Living Hawaii and Maui.
Hello.
Hi. So I have a consumer, a client that has dementia, and I've been in contact with her, but it's very challenging because sometimes she doesn't remember who I am, and I have to repeat or have to give her some details as far as who I am, where we met, and have to go over how many times I came to her home and spoke with her and her friend and whatnot, so that she can remember who I am and why I'm calling her. Aside from that, I want to know, how are other people, or how are others connecting with those that do have dementia, and trying to keep them abreast as well, given their disability. Also, just to give you an idea, she only has a flip phone. I tried to work with her as far as if she has a camera on that flip phone or not, but it's just such an old phone, and when I'm asking her questions, when she's talking to me, I don't want to upset her more when she's already frustrated. Does anybody have any ideas or any other way that you know, I can communicate with her as far as beyond what we have now?
Ari says, I'm having such a similar situation and I too feel stuck. Any thoughts?
Hi, Lonnie. Just to give you a little more background, my similar situation with a consumer out here is that we physically just can't get to her, and she has only a landline, and we have no idea her well-being, and there is no power of attorney. There is no family member or friends around that we know of. So we're trying to figure out if anyone other than the landlord is in contact with her, but it is rather hard, and I'm in a similar situation. So yeah, just piggybacking off of what Lonnie's going through, if anyone does have more information, it would be wonderful. Thank you.
And Carol says, maybe a caregiver, a friend, or a church member could assist. That's a great idea of community building, engaging in your communities. I also, I think, and Denise says the police can do a wellness check for Ari, for your thought.
This is Sarah, Access to Independence. Is there a local area agency for aging that is close to you? Sometimes they have specialists for dementia and Alzheimer's who you might be able to get some information about, or even work with them to provide services for that person.
Thanks, Sarah. I did look into that avenue as far as the police, but I don't want the police to go over there and freak out and get her upset or even more confused. I don't want to disrupt or make her feel any more anxious than she already is. She does have a friend that calls her as well to check up on her. So I do check with the friend as well that she's very familiar with. As far as Office of Aging here, they too are in a situation where, they're limited as to how far they can go. So I'm just trying to see what other avenues or what others out there are doing, or any other ideas that others are doing with their dementia consumers.
Wonderful. I just am reading in some of the chat. And one thing that Lucy suggested was maybe mailing a picture of yourself and asking her to keep it by the phone. They're going back at their center to sending mail and sending notes every few days. And Mary said the same thing. I think that's, you guys, I know it's silly, but I'm all about bringing back the letter writing campaigns. I think I've heard of also some folks in Michigan who are doing what they're calling door drops. And I think they're just taking materials and dropping into people's doors so that they can have some things. And so when they're talking, they can have some things to look at while they're talking since they don't have internet. I think, yeah, these are great ideas. And then Deb mentioned as well, this could just be an obvious resource, but maybe the Alzheimer's Association might have some other possible solutions that they've come across.
I think the picture is a wonderful idea, Mary. Thank you for sharing that. Because once she remembers where I'm at and once she remembers me, then we can actually have a conversation. But it just takes a while before we can get there. So Mary, I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. And that was Lucy, who also just wanted to add another nice thing is just to talk about old habits that she can still access, like favorite foods and songs. That way she can help remember, she can remember to reach out and about those items of memory. So great. Oh, I'm so glad that you asked because it sounds like there was other people also wondering. Any other thoughts or questions that we've got that you guys want to share about or work out with your peers?
I have something to add if I can. This is James with Disability Action Center Northwest. I don't know if all of you know about the Partnership for Inclusive Disaster Strategies. They do have a website and they have a resource list that is a vast resource list. And I remember that woman, I don't know her name, but she was talking about funding for SILs. There is a federal resources information section in this resource that is, it says questions and answers for SILs and nickel. And if you click on that link, it does talk about how you can, what you can do with that, how you can spend the funding. I don't know if it'll answer all your questions, but there are quite a few answers there, if that's of interest to anybody. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. I was trying to pull up the website to share, but my computer is being silly. Talk about being rural. My husband and I fight for bandwidth at our house sometimes now that we're both at home.
But the website is disasterstrategies.org.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you go down on the home page there, it'll say breaking news. The very first link will say COVID-19 disability community-wide resources. You click that link, it'll take you to their resources page. And their resources covers system advocacy tools, legislative congressional advocacy tools, federal resources information, good and promising practices, model state examples, other resources information, webinars, media coverage, community organizing resources, global advocacy and inclusion, and an acronym guide. Please.
Great, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Other resources happening in the chat, just for you guys. Amanda is wondering, Gloria is wondering about captioning options. And Amanda says that there are actually captioning apps for cell phones. And so, yeah, Amanda, do you mind dropping a few of the captioning apps that you know of in the chat so we can look at those? And then,
yeah, so I'm going to, this is Amanda, I'm going to look them up. I know that when iPhone transitioned over to the 64-bit apps, a lot of the 32-bit apps weren't working, and one of those was the Hamilton CapTel app. But I'm just going to go through my phone here. I know Sprint's got a CapTel, Clear Captions has one, so I'll put the links in there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm always amazed at how many resources during these 90-minute calls are just start flying around. So while we're looking for those, I just wanted to ask IPKY is asking, how are folks providing IELTS skills training when we aren't able to do face-to-face meetings and trainings right now? Many of our consumers also don't have access to do a video call. Anybody have thoughts? Well, while folks are jumping in, I just want to add, you know, I was talking earlier about the Michigan folks doing porch drops, IPKY. So that's because their consumers didn't have access to the video screens like we're using today. And so they actually printed out the materials, dropped them on the consumers' porches, and then just do phone calls with the group, with maybe one of those conference call, you know, free conference lines that folks were talking about. So that might be old school, yeah, what you're gonna do. Lucy adds, you know, just calling each consumer individually up to a couple of times a week. You know, you can do that, yep. And Ari says that's what they do as well. So I think some of us are gonna just have to dust off some of our old tools. I don't know if that's helpful at all. Oh, and Amanda got back to us that the two captioning apps that should work are Sprint, CapTel, and Clear Captions. Wonderful. I'm just scrolling through the chat to see if I've missed any questions, but while I'm doing that, does anybody else have any questions or resources or thoughts they'd like to share about?
I would just really like to share, this is Lucy again from the UP, at the virtual water cooler chat today. Our staff who does rec programs, we got as many folks as wanted to who could participate in a video chat to play like a hide and seek game, you know, to talk and show and tell. It was show and tell about something at their home, whether it was their pet, whether it was the ball they liked to play with. There was a gal who participated, a 15-year-old with Down syndrome, and her mom was there. And they could hear her at the end talking about, oh, I got to meet all these new people and play games, you know? So it doesn't have to be, are we working, you know, IL skills include, you know, recreation and having fun. There's also an app called House Party. Now, I haven't been on it, but the staff have been playing together where you can play different games, Pictionary, whatever. So kind of, you know, opening up to that maybe fun would be really important.
I think that's so important. Thanks for sharing that again. You know, there are so many cool things you can do now. I actually just downloaded the House Party app, and it's not just an app for your phone. You can also download it on Chrome browser, and you can share your screen and do all kinds of fun stuff. I was thinking about seeing if I can get some of the younger consumers to mess around with it with me. And then I also just wanted to share really quick on my screen. This is the Community Living Skills Workshop that the HCL folks are giving away. And I just wanted to show you some of the stuff. It's disability identity, peer support, self-advocacy, and you can just pull those workshops right up. And you can also print the slides if you're going old school. There's a little print button. And yeah, so they're kind of a nice, and they're all put together. You can make them bigger. So just an option if you don't have curriculums or things already. They're giving those away till May 1st. Seeing if I can stop share again. And then Josh is wondering, what about different ways to work on nursing home nursing home transition, since they are all basically shut down? That's a great question, Josh. So what are folks doing, or are you doing nursing home transition work right now?
Mary, this is Karen again. We are doing as much as we can without doing face-to-face meetings. And I mean, it's really been tough, but whatever we can do, you know, via mail, if we have to put down deposits or applications or any of that stuff, we're doing as much of that as we can. But really, until the nursing homes allow us to get back in there, if somebody's got some strategies, I'd love to hear them.
This is Mike from Pennsylvania. One of the things that we're trying to do right now is we're trying to request to the nursing homes to allow tablets to be given to the residents of the nursing homes, so we can actually communicate with them if there's any interest about moving out of the nursing home. I wish I could tell you great results, but the nursing homes aren't really open to allowing that to happen. So it's kind of a tug of war each and every day, but that's actually what we're considering doing.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's definitely, I mean, we are all having to get real creative, and I think that's a great option. For those who might not have heard it, kind of cutting in and out, he said they're offering tablets to folks in the nursing homes so that they can communicate with them if they're interested in learning about getting out.
Well, the chances this thing runs until 1:30.
Maria says they're actually not permitted to actually transition anyone, but they can keep in contact by phone. And then Deb, I'm going to share that house party app and Denise, the community living website again. Great. I apologize, you guys. I know you can hear my daughter in the background. She's another obstacle we're all facing is all these other coworkers we're not used to. But great. Anybody else have thoughts or questions that they want to talk about? I feel like this has been such a useful call already.
So this is Karen again, and I live in a very rural area of Virginia, and we have extremely limited access to high-speed internet, which is an understatement. And I was just wondering, we have line-of-sight issues. Cable can't be brought down to where we are because we have about 1/3 of a mile of a private drive, and we're using Verizon MiFi. I'd be interested to know if anybody in, you know, my same situation has any words of wisdom for high-speed internet, because part of the issue is I was going to do a Zoom meeting with my staff, figuring it would be really fun to see everybody and maybe, you know, but then it dawned on me that I just don't have the bandwidth that I need to pull something like that off. So anybody have any thoughts, please?
Yes, this is Mona from Michigan, and with one of our staff who's doing advocacy and community ed workshops online, the agency is paying for her to have a hotspot with her cell phone so that she has a good connection when she's delivering a training. That's just one idea.
I was also going to say getting a hotspot is just a good old-fashioned way to make sure it works. Yeah, seeing if work will compensate you, that might be the best.
Is that helpful at all, Karen? I think hotspots are nice if you've got self-service for sure. Man, I don't know. So I guess I'd also just say, can you just keep connecting by phone? You know, just I think.
Yeah,
that,
well, I mean, basically that's what we did. We did a conference call, you know, last week, and we've got another one scheduled. But I really would like to be able to see everybody, not just hear them. But you know, one of the I laughingly say, you know, I wouldn't live anywhere else but in a rural area. But then when it comes to internet, I mean, oh my God, you just want to pull your hair out. So anyway, I thank you for the thoughts, and we'll see if there's anything we can do with that. Thank you.
Wonderful, Karen. I do want to throw out there that Lucy also said she lives in a town of 400 and has similar issues. And what she mentioned was try to use off hours and have fewer people on the call. So, Lucy, that is such a great idea. And I always forget that. So we actually, like my husband and I, for example, you know, we take turns running meetings. And we found that anytime from like 2 to 4:30, for some reason in our neighborhood, the internet is terrible. So if we try to do everything before then or after then, it really helps. So Lucy, that's such a great idea. And then having fewer people on the call. So if you can break into smaller teams, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
So there's another question in the chat. We're noticing that consumers are really focused on the basics right now. Medication, access, food and supplies, rather than the programs and skills they may usually look for. So we are doing a lot of INR and coordination to help where we can, and doing a lot of check-in calls, general support, and listening. I think that's such a great point to make. We definitely always want to meet the consumer where they are. And for those folks who are just trying to get comfortable with our new normal, I think, you know, what you're doing, those check-in calls, I've heard of a lot of SILs doing that. That's, I think, a great way to stay connected and help them get what they need.
Yeah, this is Karen again, and we're actually seeing the same thing. I know when I've asked my staff what they're hearing from consumers is, you know, asking them what their needs are, everybody is just kind of hunkered down and they're maintaining, and that's kind of where they are. So, you know, fortunately, we haven't had a lot of people that have expressed a lot of problems, but we're doing the same thing, lots of INR, check-in calls, and just, you know, letting people know that we're there in the event that they do need us.
Great, thanks, Karen. Anybody else want to talk about what they're doing with consumers right now?
I have a question. This is Emily from the Big Island on Hawaii. I have a question. Do you folks know how to get a hold of the IRS to get an interpreter for a deaf person? When it comes up, it says that the IRS is not taking any calls at this time, which a person would have to do in order to get an interpreter so they can talk about their, if they had a question on their taxes. Any ideas out there?
Do a big blank.
I might have been muted.
I'm wondering if Stacy Nichols is still on the call. She emailed me earlier with some resources for the deaf. but I'm not sure. Has anybody have any thoughts on how she might be able to get her question answered?
You could check on Google to research interpreting services in Hawaii, and that's a starting place to find a list of available services.
We did try that.
I'm sorry. Hi, this is Colleen. I'm from Florida.
Go ahead. From Hawaii again. Did you have a follow-up question? I don't know if that was. Oh, go ahead.
That was a great suggestion. I do have this person calling their mayor's office, their governor's office to see if they can get some help on that side, because with the IRS, they have to provide interpreters for not only the deaf, but also for languages, etc.
I wanted to mention, so Deb is from the Council Centers, sorry, my chat moved again. Deb is from Nevada, and she said that the Deaf Centers of Nevada might know of resources for you, and she would like to assist you if you need help. And she put her email down there. It's deb@nncil.org. So maybe she can help work it out. This is what I love about peer support. Mm-hmm. And then Todd also says you can try Jim House.
Who?
Jim House. And Todd gave his email as well.
Okay.
Do you want me to, if you could send me an email? This is Mary from April. I'll put my email up, or it's molson.april@gmail.com. I can connect you with all the folks leaving their emails for you.
Awesome. I'll do that in a little bit.
Perfect. Great. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to pull my chat back to where we were at. I saw that there was a bunch of other resources being thrown down there. Sorry, my chat disappeared. There it goes. Okay. I also just wanted to follow back a little bit to what Karen was talking about with internet speed. And Martha Mason mentions that you could also work with your Council of Governments on high-speed connectivity. And then Marissa mentioned if you plug your Ethernet cord directly into your laptop or computer rather than using the Wi-Fi, that also will help.
That's a great thought. Thank you.
Yeah. Look at all of this genius rolling around with everybody. I love it. And then back to the question on the IRS. Sarah mentioned that maybe you could call the state reps or congressional reps to see if they may have another way to access.
Oh, they're doing that right now.
Wonderful. Great. I think we've gotten through the chat. Are there any other questions or thoughts that you guys want to share about? We're about, how about a half an hour left?
This is just invaluable to get these different ideas, and I just really appreciate the forum. So thank you, everyone, for these great ideas.
You're here.
Yay, absolutely. I'm so glad that we're able to get all you guys together because, like I said, I'm always amazed at the amount of genius that comes out of these calls. And we will, just so you know, like we did with the last call, I'm recording it. We will put the recording, which also has the chat, and then a copy of the transcript from the CART. We'll put that all up on the April website and the ILRU website as well, so that you guys can access re-access all of this information. Does anybody else have thoughts or questions that they want to share about, ask your peers?
Are we going to have another meeting?
That is a great question. This is technically the last IL or rural conversation that I have in the April contract with ILRU and the ILNet. However, I think that we probably will continue them. So either we'll work with ILRU to continue them, or if not, I think April is committed to continuing. So we'll probably try to put one out. We've been doing about every couple of weeks, and that seems to work for folks. So we'll definitely send out the notices again, but look for it maybe a couple weeks from now.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other question I just wanted to throw out there from the chat, Sarah says, I'm noticing a lot of staff anxiety and personal worries. So we're making sure to talk frequently, not only about resources and work-related topics, but just to connect personally. Sarah, I think that's a really great point to make. You know, one thing that we really try to just remind folks of is that we are all just doing the best we can with what we have right now, and that's consumers and staff and your executive directors. And I just think, yeah, as much as we can connect personally with people, absolutely. We actually got some great resources from the Ability 360 Center, and we sent out some of them, and I'll put them on the website, just talking about little things you can do to feel better. So for example, you know, still getting up every morning and getting ready, you know, setting a time for eating and space for working and remembering to recreate. And they also sent a bunch of recreation online resources. So I'll make sure to put those up when we put up all the resources from this call. And Amanda says what they did was they made our staff Facebook page. So they made a Facebook page, you can do a closed group just for their staff so that people wanted to connect but were tired of getting emails. That's a great idea. I think also the house party app could be really great for that purpose. You know, there's also, I don't know if anybody's ever used Slack before, but Slack is, you can use the free version as well, and it's kind of like a chat platform, but there's also a video call option built into it. So those are some ways to maybe connect with folks at your work. And IPQY says, Sarah, I agree. We have calls 3 times a week to just talk about whatever, and one of those calls, no work talk is allowed. Sometimes the conversation is light and sometimes it's a little more heavy. We text each other about if we are doing our self-care, and we really try to encourage each other. And then Karen just wanted to throw out there that DREDF, the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, pulled together a clear disability resource and advocacy page for folks, so you can Google that. And Josh also mentioned Slack. And Sierra says that Discord could be a good way to connect with staff. Anetta uses Microsoft Teams, and they set up a chat just for connecting separate from the work stuff. And it can get pretty entertaining. So those are some great options. Folks mentioned Discord, Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Facebook groups. Jeannie also said that there is a great website called virusanxiety.com that has a lot of good info on it. Oh, and Carl says their staff posted and shared selfies of their new office mates in their new home office, like their pets. And Davina mentioned that GroupMe is also useful. Lucy says that they share good books and it's a great recreational activity. You can drop books off at people's porches in a brown paper bag. And Amanda says they did a best and worst coworkers competition with people's pets. That's awesome. Wonderful. Does anybody else have questions or thoughts just around anything right now, keeping the connection going? Wonderful. While folks are thinking about other questions that they might have or resources they want to share, I wanted to also let you know that the RTC Rural folks asked me to mention that they're also working on a project right now. So they're the folks that put out the Healthy Community Living curriculum. And they're trying to build right now a resource for engaging in communities, rural communities specifically. So they're trying to pull together some teams of SILS staff that might be able to help pull together resources on ways that you can engage in your communities, identify resources, you know, kind of community building and making the communities better for people with disabilities. And so if you're interested in helping out with that, they're going to be doing resources, trying to pull together something that could be used for other SILs. And Raina Sage is running that project, and I will put her email in the chat box if you are interested in learning more.
What? I'm on TV.
It's raina.sage@mso.umt.edu. And Jeannie's wondering if the April conference will be canceled. And I know, so my boss Billy is on the call. I will say, I might let him answer that, but we are, you know, just watching as everything progresses as much as we can. I don't know, Billy, do you have more you want to say about that? You're still on.
Oh, yes, I'm on. I was trying to find the mute button. Nope, that covers it. It's mostly a playing by ear right at the moment. I would love to have a definite answer, but there's just no way to make a definitive statement right at the moment. But we will definitely keep folks posted.
Wonderful. Well, we're at 2 o'clock here. We do have captioning available for the next half an hour. Does anybody have any other questions or resources or thoughts that they would like to share?
I would like a little bit of input, if anyone else can help me out to the extent that I'm feeling, well, the community is definitely feeling a bit overwhelmed at our food bank. We had an increase in this past week by 300%. Has anyone else been having really rised up numbers for their local resources that are being utilized way more than usual?
This is Martha in Durango. We actually were able to get funding through the AAA to deliver food bank packages. And so if we happen to drop off a few that are for people under 60, that's okay.
Sure, we've been doing that as well, especially in Gilpin too. We're up in I'm in Nederland, so which is by Gilpin County, Black Hawk, that area.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
we do the whole peak to peak stretch. So we go to other towns to do meal delivery programs, but the food bank solely, without that program, the home delivery of meals has increased by 300% on average.
So the AAA money that just came down through Colorado anyway can also pay for food.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
We do have a AAA up here. We have one person designated. Yeah. I'll definitely be in contact.
Cool.
Thank
you. We've also got a bunch of mutual aid kind of societies starting up where people are, you know, there's two different food groups. One is the organizations and the other is kind of a more radical group composed of farmers and other radical people that are trying to get food out to people.
Got you.
mutual aid
Do you mind
societies
sending me
are
your info even in the chat, Martha? I'd love to connect with a Durango neighbor.
great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I love it when connections are being made. Can I just say it's one of my most favorite things ever.
Right?
wanna-
It's awesome.
It is. And I wanted to just mention along with that, I don't know if other communities are doing this. I know in Missoula, where I live in Montana, our school district is actually still running the school buses, and they are dropping lunches on the bus stops for any families that have children in their home. So that could also be an option for folks who have kids. I know that they give a pretty hefty amount of food in those bags, and in Missoula anyways, I mean they're like begging people to take them because not enough people are actually using that resource. Cindy says, many people are wondering how they can help. And in my neighborhood in Fargo, North Dakota, we put food out on our driveways in bags, and a family drove by to gather everything off the same day at one of our food pantries. That's really cool. Already. Carl just says a little fun fact for you guys that stressed spells desserts backwards. So when you're stressed, enjoy some desserts. Great. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to ask or share? There is no question too small or too big. I think we've got such a great group of folks.
Push it down a little bit.
Yeah. No? Oh, thank you. E. Sanders says this is the most fruitful webinar with new ideas and humor. I've learned a lot and will share with my workmates. We're so great to hear that. Maria also just wanted to mention quick that they have a neighborhood page and people have been really helpful with resources. That is so important. My brother was telling me he lives in Colorado and he can't even find flour because everything is so picked over there. And he said that a lot of the local restaurants have put together pages. I'm sorry, my daughter and husband are wrestling in the background. That a lot of the local restaurants have put together Facebook groups and are selling things like flour and eggs and milk from the restaurants since they don't want them to go bad and the community is out of them. So, keep a lookout for stuff like that. And, oh, thank you, Lucy. She just wanted to mention that it's so rich to be in the call because of the kindness and laughter thanks with tears in my eyes. So, oh, and thank you, Say. I don't have to apologize for my daughter. We are all just doing what we can right now. People are gonna meet her someday when she's grown up, and they're gonna say, I've heard of you. So, and Michael just wanted to add, paper products are scarce in Central Ohio. I think that is a thing everywhere. But Amanda wanted to know, are you a partner with Convoy of Hope? Amanda, are you asking if April is a partner of Convoy of Hope, or? Oh, she says that they've been able to order supplies from Convoy of Hope. So I'd actually never heard of that before, but that might be something to look into. So Convoy of Hope as a resource. Great. We have just about 20 minutes left. Does anybody have final thoughts or questions that they would like to talk about? I know while people are thinking about it, I wanted to just mention, if you don't mind, evaluating these calls. Again, the link is on the screen here. I will also have that up on the website with the archives. You know, when we have evaluation, it just makes us stronger, so we appreciate that for sure. And then one more thought. Oh, go ahead.
Just, I'm sorry to be so chatty on this, but I did just check the news, and I want to make sure that the Michigan people are doing all right, and they're not near Lansing, Michigan right now. I'm a former Michigan resident of 24 years, just making sure you guys are safe and all love. So you guys aren't near Lansing right now, is that correct?
That is correct. I am not near Lansing.
Okay, good. There's a big protest going on at the Capitol right now that is not 6 feet apart for each person, may we say, near stay-at-home order. They are protesting that. So
that's definitely breaking news over here. Sorry, this is Mark from Livingston County. Our neighbor is Lansing, so just keeping our social distance from that.
Wow. One more just thought, Michael, or sorry, not Michael, but Amanda wanted to mention that as a part of the Convoy of Hope, they're able to get supplies, and then they're giving TP, paper towels, cleaning supplies, and sanitizer to consumers who request it. I think that's another really awesome way you can serve consumers. And Maria just dropped in the links the Disability Disaster Toolkit, which could be something useful for folks to look at. So thanks, Maria, for doing that. Great. Oh, and Amanda said, actually, to correct me, they started just by sharing their own internal inventory when they were giving stuff away to their consumers. So she says she loves her still. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I don't want to keep people too much longer. We do have about 15 minutes left. If anybody has thoughts that they want to share, final parting thoughts, please do so now. And while you're getting unmuted, I just wanted to say my final thoughts. Again, I just really appreciate you folks being on the call today. Oh, actually, there is 2 more questions before we finish up. So let's do, first off, what are ways that folks are getting signatures on documents? That is a good question. Our youth group actually mentioned a couple of free ways. Sierra, do you remember what those were?
Hey, sorry. The DocuSign was one that was mentioned, and I'll have to pull up some of the other resources and I can drop them in the chat. But they were even, it slipped my mind as soon as I went to go say it. So I'll pull it up and I'll tell you, but I know the DocuSign was one way.
Yeah, and I think DocuSign costs money, but I know, I think it's DocuMe. Doxy is free. And then some of the folks in Maui and others are saying they're just doing snail mailing it back and forth to get signatures. There was one who said, oh, it's DocHub. That's what it was. DocHub is free through Google. Is a way to do an electronic signature. One person up here mentioned that, oh, Michael said they're actually mailing the paperwork to folks with a self-addressed stamped envelope in it so that they can sign it and send it right back at no cost to them, which is another great idea. And then Josh says, every center is different, but as long as we get, oh, I just made it move, I'm sorry. Josh says, again, where did it go? Sorry guys, my chat keeps moving.
He said each center is different, but as long as we get their signature and date on a sheet of paper, that will work in the meantime.
Thank you,
I've
Martha.
also heard, I've also heard from our state that it's okay to write verbal verbal approval, not signature not available because of COVID-19, and they'll let us get away with that in some cases.
Thank you, Martha. That's great to know. And also, I just saw in the chat that somebody mentioned, Beth says that DocuSign, although it costs money, you can get it on TechSoup. If some of you guys aren't members of TechSoup, I recommend doing that. It is a way for nonprofits to get access to all these techie things we've been talking about for way cheaper than what they actually cost. April, we use it all the time. So there was also one other question I just wanted to circle back to, talking about let's see. Eric says, has anyone encountered a person with hearing loss that utilizes lip reading, having difficulty communicating with people wearing masks in the community? And somebody mentioned down in the chat that they've actually seen, Amanda says that people are making masks now with clear plastic over the mouth, and is a way to help with that. I saved so many comforter and sheet bags. I'm looking for someone to donate them to locally, is what she said. Wonderful. Geneva also mentioned, back to the documents, that you can take a picture of it instead of scanning it, which is helpful. And Amanda says, if her consumers are comfortable with digital, they go that way, but many prefer snail mail. That's great. We got all the information, you guys. And Maria wants to know the link for TechSoup. I will drop that right in there. Wonderful. Any last other questions that folks have? Well, I drop the TechSoup down. Thank you, everybody, as well, for, I know you've all been patient with me as I'm navigating all of this stuff today, with rural internet going slow.
I put a TechSoup on the link in chat.
Oh, thank you so much. You beat me to it. Wonderful. Michael got it down in there. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody again for meeting today. Folks are wondering if we can continue these in some fashion because they're super useful. I will, you know what, I think that we will do that. We will continue them. Hopefully we can get support, you know, we can figure something out, but if not, you know, I think that we're really committed to doing these, and I learned so much from all of you doing it. So I'm just gonna keep, as long as you show up, we'll keep doing them. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Please don't forget to check the website for the archive, and also to make sure to evaluate the call if you can. Awesome. And as always, we will make sure to save the chat. I'll do that right now if Sierra reminds me at the end. Great. Thanks, everybody. Let us know if you have any other questions in the meanwhile, and watch your inbox for announcements of next calls.
Aloha.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Save the chat. Okay.